Alrighty, so let's do a little news of the week on April 9th, 2020 in this late afternoon. And I believe we have officially reached 1 month ever since the shelter-in-place order was enforced in the Bay Area, and exactly a month ever since MLS was back then saying that the league would come back on April 11th, but now it's being extended to, I believe, May 10th is the earliest when they are going to resume their season. And as much as for this whole month I have survived in terms of not just going completely crazy and just completely lose my mind of not able to actually go outside without worrying what's going to happen, and has just not any sporting events to watch whatsoever. I'm not quite sure if I can do that for these next couple of months. I mean, I'm really hoping eventually this outbreak is over, and I know I've been saying this pretty much every single video that I do, but it is kind of getting to the situation where I am really hoping things will start to get back to normal, and that I can actually watch some sporting events on TV, because watching not only with no MLS action but just in general sports on TV is kind of a little bit depressing for me. And that as much as I'm hearing these feel good story of some teams and some players decided to be kind and donate to support the cause to find a vaccine and eventually slow down this coronavirus outbreak, I kind of also want to have some more refreshing news, like eventually this is going to get better and that everything will start to go back to normal and all the shelter in place order is going to slowly start to lift. But going back to what I'm actually going to be talking about in this video, which is the news of the week, the first thing I'm going to talk about is Jurgen Laconia. So he says he is willing to stay with FC Cincinnati beyond the loan spell, and it's good the fact that he says that he's willing to stay with FC Cincinnati and that he's definitely happy with the life that he is in MLS. But keep in mind, he have only played 2 games with FC Cincinnati, and we have seen before where players have said that they are happy to stay with their club after they just joined with this new club, and that after the end of the loan spell, it can change. Their feeling of staying with their club could change dramatically. Like, I've seen players where at the end of their loan spell, they either don't want to be there because they're not having a good season with the club and that they want to go back to their parent club, or go to another club for some change of scenery, or in a best case scenarios, you have players that are having a great season and they want to go to a bigger club or go back to Europe for another shot. That is something that we have seen before. So not saying that this could happen to Jurgen Laconia, and that, I'm hoping not only he'll be happy to stay with FC Cincinnati, but he could have a great season, which would really improve his stock. But, it'll be interesting to see that if he does have a great season with FC Cincinnati, would FC Cincinnati decide to extend him, and then they, of course, will get the full rights in terms of him, and that, if they are thinking of selling him in the future, then they of course can at least get some money if they have the full rights into him. So yeah, we'll see how that is going to turn out. But moving on, in terms of the next news, is that CONCACAF Olympic qualifier and Nation League will be suspended, and I don't think this should be a big surprise. And pretty much this is just the latest 2 big sporting events that is being canceled because of the coronavirus outbreak. The CONCACAF Olympic qualifier, I'm assuming most likely they either would resume once this whole outbreak is over, or they're just going to wait until next season and do what the Olympics are doing, which is move to next year and postpone it to next season. Which, speaking of the Olympics, they have also just said that any players that is eligible to participate in the Olympics, but the very next season, if they're ineligible because of their age group, and I'm talking about soccer in general here, those players that is ineligible to participate in the next Olympics will still be eligible because the Olympics decided to push a year back. And it's good to see that happened because there was a lot of question with all these players. You know, they might be eligible this year, but heading into next year, and since the Olympic is postponed to next year, there could be a problem with all these players now ineligible of participating in this game. And that in many ways, instead of the Olympics only featuring U23 players, it's going to now feature U24 players in its soccer tournament. Nation League itself, you know, I wonder whether or not if they're going to go back once this outbreak is over, or they're going to delay until next summer. And I might think that they might just delay to next summer, because, you know, once MLS does come back, and depending on what MLS is going to do and going to play even more games during international break, you definitely don't want to have a Nation League where pretty much every single team are going to be playing during the international break, and teams are going to be really be up in arms with the fact that they're going to have to have some of these players that is participating in the Nations League, but they're going to have to let them go because of the competition, even though they have a regular season game during that week. But moving on, in terms of the next news, and kind of just show you an example of how some owners are being very generous and some owners are being an absolute dick during this coronavirus outbreak. So, in the good, generous example of an owner in terms of treating their staff and helping them in dealing with this crisis is Arthur Blank himself, as he have announced that he will give a further $1 million to fund all the game days employed at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and that includes the employees that not only work at Atlanta United game, but also Atlanta Falcons game, as both of these teams play in the same venue. Although we also have the bad example of how owners are being very selfish and decide to not even care their staff, and you already know which team I'm going to be talking about. Yes, that's right, it is RSL, who before they were rumored that they decided that they are going to furlough some of their staff, and just decided to give their staff pay cuts as they furloughed them. Well, now that rumor has been confirmed, as this week they announced that they have furloughed some of their staff, and all of their staff will receive a pay cut. So, yeah, you know, for all those clubs that haven't announced what they're going to do with their stadium staff, I hope they would look up to Arthur Blanks and look at Atlanta United of how they've been handling this, and not actually look at what RSL is doing, and try not to be like RSL in terms of trying to deal with some of their staff and trying to be kind of a little bit greedy and keeping all the money, despite the fact that being greedy is the last thing you want to do to deal with this whole coronavirus outbreak. But moving on, in terms of the next news, Montreal have canceled all public event until July 2nd, and this was following a week after Toronto have says that they have canceled all their public event until June 30th. So Montreal could be another team that might not be able to play an MLS game until July 2nd. And if that is going to be the case, you know, if MLS decide to come back either at the earliest point, which is in the middle of May, or it could come back in July or June, it will come back in June itself. It's going to be interesting to see all these teams that unfortunately their city says that they're unable to hold like public events there. What are those teams going to do? Are they just going to have to play on the road until this specific date where their city decided to lift the ban of all public events, or the fact that they're just going to have to play a neutral site for their home games? Hopefully that won't not be the case, because that wouldn't be fair to some of these teams that have to play some of their home games at a neutral site. But yeah, you know, Montreal is the latest city, and also their team are the latest team to have to suffer this problem with their city government saying that they cannot host a public event or host a game until July 2nd. Now, Matias Almeyda says he's thinking that one day he will coach the U.S. men's national team. And I'll tell you what, I don't mind the fact that Almeyda coached the U.S. men's national team. I mean, if Almeyda is going to leave the Quakes for another job, the U.S. men's national team would definitely be the one that I definitely won't mind him going to, because No, I can definitely see that Almeyda, even though I know some people have said that his system will not work in the international level, well, why not give him a try? And keep in mind, he is a guy that completely transformed this Quakes team. That last season, this Quakes team basically finished rock bottom in the 2018 season, and that he basically transitioned that same 2018 squad with minimum spending to a team that almost made it to the playoffs. And if he can work that kind of magic with the national team, you know, who knows what the national team is going to do. But obviously, I don't know. You know, he says that he's one day want to coach the U.S. men's national team if the opportunity arrive to, which, yeah, unfortunately, that opportunity might not arrive to, because we have what we call the U.S. Soccer Federation that decided to be very greedy and decided to be very ignorant, and they said that any coaches that don't speak fluent English will not be able to take that spot. God, I really hope eventually that rule would come to an end, because it's a very dumb rule, and it's really the reason why Tata Martino did not join the U.S. men's national team as a head coach. Like, he could have easily been with the U.S. men's national team, and in many ways that would have been the perfect candidate for the U.S. men's national team. But because of this ignorant rule for the U.S. Soccer Federation saying that all head coaches need to speak fluent English, and that Tata Martino doesn't actually speak fluent English, that's why he wasn't qualified. So, yeah, hopefully they will eventually get rid of that rule, and we'll see whether or not if Almeyda would eventually get that chance. But moving on into the last news I'm going to talk about is that Nashville CEO Ian Iyer has says that their MLS Stadium will be subsequently complete in May 2022, and that this whole coronavirus outbreak hasn't really affected in terms of the deadline that they are going to complete their stadium. And because of the fact that Nashville Stadium might not complete until May 2022, they might be facing a dilemma in that 2022 season, where either they play, although they do what Portland did a couple of years ago, which is go on the road for the first 10 game of their season before having their season opener in May 2022, or do the Atlanta way, which is still play at Nissan Stadium for their first couple of home games before switching to their new soccer specific stadium and play the remaining home games that season. So it'll be interesting to see which way they're going to choose, but they said that they're thinking that the stadium should be done before May 2022. But yeah, either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Oh, one more thing before I actually finish with this video. I want to show you FC Cincinnati Stadium in terms of their progress, since we were talking about new stadium that is being open. They're actually have shown kind of a picture or an aerial overview of how the stadium is, and actually I'm not quite sure you can see it, but yeah, that's basically how it looks. It's a little bit blurry, but yeah, they have already almost finished the first tier of the stadium. Obviously, I think it's going to be maybe a year or two before they are going to get the stadium done, and that's if this whole coronavirus outbreak has had any impact with their stadium, which I'm reading here, and it doesn't seem like they said that there is any impact in terms of this outbreak has with the construction of their stadium, which is good to hear that their stadium opening and their stadium construction is still on schedule. But yeah, either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if there's any news that I haven't mentioned on the board for this news of the week, or if there's any news that you have just recently heard, because most of the news that I wrote on the board was from this morning, and ever since this morning I haven't really checked on the league website to see if there's any other news that has happened. But if there's any other news that I have just missed, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.